When I got out of BU, I worked for Richard, actually. That was my first job, was at Penn State working in the summer theater.
When I first got out of school, I worked in regional theater almost exclusively.
I was fortunate enough to immediately get to work at Arena Stage in Washington, D.C.
I left there finishing my MFA, and I went to a political theater in Minnesota for 2 years.
I got a job in Nashville Children's Theater.
I worked at Arena Stage, Williamstown Theater Festival, Philadelphia Drama Guild, Buffalo Studio Arena. I mean, I was in that was pretty much my career for the first 10 years or so.
My first equity job was up at Jiva Theater. I was with that company for a year. And then I went to the Guthrie, and I was at the Guthrie Theater for a year. I played Emily in Our Town.
And then I was at the New York Shakespeare Festival.
If I was at Playwrights Horizons, I did a little thing at the Public. I did something at the Vineyard Theater.
I came to New York. I fell immediately into commercials and did commercials for years. I mean, I was like God just saying, you are going to sell soap and dog food. That's just the way it is. And I fell into comedy and improv, and I was with Chicago City Limits.
Then did a lot of theater in New York. I worked at Manhattan Theater Club and Playwrights Horizons and American Place Theater, and I did a play on Broadway called Coastal Disturbances.
Then I went to London and I studied.
Then I got married.
Then my husband and I had a baby.
But I also got into a soap opera. It ended up being a 3-year contract, and it was just wild that I was doing that.
And so I started doing commercials, and I started doing so many commercials that when I did go to try out for something else, it was like, oh, you're the NyQuil girl.
And we decided, because we wanted to have kids, that we wanted to give Seattle a try.
And I thought, let's go to California.
But I never stopped doing theater. It just about, killed me to do the soap and to do off-Broadway or Broadway at the same time. But I would always remind myself, oh my goodness, what actor wouldn't like to be doing this?
I ran an acting studio that I started with several other wonderful directors and actors.
So then I just started working. I just kept working.
When I came to California, I had another baby. And
I decided to go to Los Angeles.
I really always wanted to try doing some film and television work, along with writing, which I'm also quite interested in. And I thought, well, maybe we could give it a try. Come down here to LA. I could keep some money coming in by doing the film and TV, and I could start to write, which is something I always longed to do.
So yeah, I've stayed out here because I've worked a lot in television and film, and I've done theater and all the other things.
And I've done a lot of I've done maybe 25 or so TV shows and some commercials.
And I came back to acting about 4 or 5 years ago. And it's been really busy and fun.
And this is also where I started teaching seriously. I just kind of had some things fall into my lap, and it's been great.
I'm working right now and doing this play that I wrote called Loyalties, so that's been running actually for 4 months.
This wasn't going to be about doing a show or anything to do with a career per se. It was a reunion to re-examine craft. You get hungry for that.
Essentially, it is for the purposes of those workshops to eliminate the consideration of audience. That is projection, that is to be in such a position that the audience or the camera can pick you up, getting into your key light, getting onto your marks, getting to the right piece of furniture, all of those things. Essentially, it's only what the actor needs to do to commit themselves to the other actor.
Since most of the actors now live in L.A., we met in Hollywood. Marilyn McIntyre teaches at the Howard Fine Studio, and that's where we met, to go back to the source, as it were.
What really makes the artist is not the completed work that you hang on the wall or the Oscar that you get, or, you know, because that really relates more to fame and to some kind of, you know, success. And fame is the great enemy that we are all fighting. We're all haunted by it in this country. You know, it's fame is what you achieve, not your work.
Right.
It's fame, and it's so destructive because what happens is the very nurturing part of our work, which is the craft, goes out the window. You know, and it goes out the window. And what that's related to is process. Process is terribly important. It seems to me when you're an instrumentalist, not only do you go home and practice the score, you go home and do the basic exercises. And I don't think the problem is to address how do I play a scene, because you all know how to play a scene. I think it really has to do with what is the instrument doing? You know, this is a unique instrument. Nobody else has got it. And how do I live with it?
To deal with acting as a practice, I think you have to think of yourself not just as a performer, but as a technician. And Richard has terrific insight into what's at the core of what's going on for an actor.
And it's always based on, the first thing you do is what the hell is that person doing?
What's the matter?
Oh, don't be so fucking calm! Christ!
That's a Jack Benny look if I ever saw one.
What is wrong with you?
When we came away the last time, I came away with some insights that I'm sure are obvious. For one thing, is the absolute continuity of that very first baby exercise we teach of observation. You know, come in and what do you see? And what tends to happen is then we move on to the next exercise and we don't carry that with us. We don't carry, the assumption is that we will carry it with us. And then we move on to the third exercise, and we lose the first exercise a little more, and the second exercise some, and this keeps moving on. And what I realized was there's a continuity, and you cannot lose that first observation exercise. That's part of the problem, and that's what you were bringing up. Is when you said, you know, you get it from the other person's behavior. You know, Sandy used to say, your energy comes from what the other actor is doing. But what the other actor is doing is what you're observing. So that you have to, it can't be what you rehearsed. You know, it can't be what you came and planned to do. It can't be any of that. The only thing that's live in the room for you is what the other actor's doing.